We've been talking about the notice and note signposts that you can spot in a story or novel. Remember that these signposts help us understand the plot, how characters are developing, how the conflict arises and is resolved, and perhaps even a theme that the writer is exploring. Today we're going to learn about another signpost, one called Words of the Wiser. Let's think about what this might mean. When I was about your age, my mom was always giving me advice. She would say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all, or always tell the truth, or haste makes waste. I remember the time she told me haste makes waste. I had no idea what she meant, and I kept right on hurrying through washing the dishes after dinner. I was in a huge hurry because once I finished, I could go out and play. Well, I was carrying too many dishes, and I bet you can guess what happened. The top one, and then the next one, and soon the entire pile of dishes fell and broke. And then, because I'd been rushing so much, I had to spend a lot of time cleaning up a huge mess. Haste makes waste. I wasted all those dishes because they were ruined, and I wasted the time I could have been playing. My mom's words were, indeed, wise words. I just wasn't wise enough to listen to her. Well, authors are, in some ways, like a mom or a dad or a grandparent. They include scenes in which wise words are shared. So when I'm reading, I'm always on the lookout for a place where the main character has a quiet and serious talk with a wiser character. That wiser character might be a friend, a brother or sister, a teacher, a parent, or the kindly neighbor down the street. When I find that scene, I want to read it carefully because the wiser character is probably offering the main character some good advice. This advice is probably a life lesson, and if I pay attention to it, I'll see an important idea the author wants me to think about. Let's write our definition for Words of the Wiser. The scene in which a wiser character offers the main character advice that is helpful at this moment in the story, but could also be helpful throughout life. After we notice it, we want to ask ourselves one question. What's the life lesson, and how might this affect the character? As you answer this question, you'll learn more about the character, the conflict he or she faces, the plot, and perhaps the message or theme the author wants you to consider. I'm going to read a few scenes to you that are all from a book titled Writing Freedom. Writing Freedom is about a young girl named Charlotte who lives during the mid-1800s. Her parents are dead and she lives in an orphanage. She loves horses, but the overseer of the orphanage where she lives forbids her to work with them simply because she's a girl. Life there is hard, and at some point she realizes she cannot stay there, so she decides to run away from the orphanage. Let's look at a short scene, the one where Charlotte tells a trusted older and wiser adult at the orphanage that she must escape. The friend's name is Vern, and his job at the orphanage is to take care of the horses. One of the horses is named Justice. Thanks, Vern. I wish I could stay with you and work with the horses, but I'd be in the kitchen, and I'd be missing Justice and fretting because I wouldn't get to see Charity's foal, or help you name it. I know, Miss Charlotte, said Vern. You gotta do what your heart tells you. I won't ever forget you, said Charlotte. I guess I'm not likely to forget you, Miss Charlotte. I'll stop here because I've noticed that this is a scene in which an older and wiser character has offered advice to the main character. The advice I hear Vern giving Charlotte is, you gotta do what your heart tells you. When authors create such a scene, we need to stop and ask, how could this advice affect the character? I think this advice would be helpful to Charlotte right now and also later on, no matter what she faces in the future. At this moment, those words may help her muster the courage to take the risk of running. And later? Well, we'll have to see if they come back to her later and help her again. Since Charlotte says she won't ever forget Vern, and he says he won't forget her, I'm going to bet that they won't see each other again. So it will have to be his words, his advice, that she keeps close to her. As I keep reading,